Explore the world without having to leave your kitchen. Join me as I take some of the most popular dishes from around the globe and give them a healthy twist. Hello and welcome to Bridget's Healthy Kitchen. My name is Bridget Fully-Aki-Davis, and on this episode of Healthy Around the World, we are going to be visiting the beautiful country of Vietnam. And the dish that we're going to be doing today is from a city called Hanoi. It's known as Bun Cha Hanoi, and this is where it's said to have originated. Now, Hanoi is the capital of Vietnam. It sits in the northern part of the country, and it also sits along the banks of the Red River. And there's a population of around about 3 million people that call Hanoi home, and this dish that we're doing, Bun Cha Hanoi, is wildly popular, especially amongst the street vendors who have their wares set out on the street there. They have their char-grillers, and this dish essentially is char-grilled meatballs served with noodles and wonderful ingredients like salad ingredients, and then the most incredible dipping sauce to go along with it. So we're going to be creating all those things today with my little healthy kick to it. We're going to be making some amazing meatballs. We're going to be making the Bun Cha dipping sauce as well. And then I want to show you guys how to put and assemble everything together. So don't be afraid of this dish. If you're looking at the recipe, and I have shared the recipe with you guys on our recipe sharing platform modkai.com, don't be afraid of the ingredients. They're all pretty commonly found, and you really do get the ability to mix and match as well. So let's get into the recipe. We are going to start with the meatballs. So for the meatballs, I'm using 2 different types of meat. Now traditionally, the meatballs in Hanoi are made with pork mince, but I'm going to use a bit of pork mince. So into my bowl here, I'm going to be adding 300 grams, which is 10.5 ounces of pork mince goes in there because it's already been minced for me. But what I thought I would do, just to lighten it a little bit, is I'm also going to be putting in some chicken thigh mince, and I'm going to be making the chicken thigh mince myself, which may seem like not important, but the reason why I do like to make my own, especially mince, is that when it comes to chicken and turkey, I do find that often the mince that you buy in the supermarket or in your butcher can be a little bit too finely minced, and it comes out more like a paste. And when you make things like meatballs, you might actually find them to be a little bit dry. So into my little food processor here, I've put in the chicken thigh, and I just cut them up into those sort of size pieces there, and I'm going to be just blending that up really quickly and literally making my own mince. And it's just going to help to keep our, as I was saying, meatballs really light and not too dry. So give it a bit of a blend. 200 grams, which is 7 ounces. But keep an eye on it. You want it to be minced, but not paste-like. So there's that fine little mix that you want to have there. But I'm pretty happy with that. So once you've got your mince action already done, we now have a total of 500 grams of minced meat, which is 1.1 pounds, and this will make or serve about 4 people. This amount that I'm giving you guys today. I am going to be giving you ingredients for quite a lot more of the Bun Cha dipping sauce, because I reckon it's really worthwhile having in your fridge, because it's just goes with so many things. So throw your mince in there, scrape it all down. I like using the chicken thigh because it does have a little bit of that natural fat, which is really good for us. You know, fat not only equals flavor, but it also does help our body to be able to absorb certain minerals and vitamins which are really important to us, and those are the fat soluble vitamins D, E, K and A. We need a bit of fat in our diet. So that's the next thing. Put those off to the side just for a second, because I'm going to grab up my little tray here, And in here I have a few little bits and pieces that we're going to be putting into or through the mince as well. So I've got an onion, just a small onion. Now you can choose to either use a red or just your normal white or brown onion, and just dice your onion up. We're going to be putting it into here. And no, I don't need to wash this food processor because this onion is going to go through the mince anyway, so it's okay that we're putting the onion into the raw chicken. So once that's in, go back, grab back our lid and give it a bit of a mince. So I'm not just doing this to help with the cutting because I'm being a bit lazy. What I'm actually trying to create is I literally am trying to create a minced onion. So that way we don't get like, you know, pieces of large onion through the meatballs. It's going to be able to mix through the mixture really, really easily. So you want to mince it. You can also use a grater if you don't have a food processor here. It definitely pays to just go along and just sort of work the onion down in the processor. All right, looking good. So you want it really, really fine. That is the ideal scenario here. Nice and fine. Let's pull back up our meat here, and we're just going to scrape that minced onion into the bowl. And as I was saying, this is really going to help to make sure that we don't have large pieces of onion in our meatballs. And when you mince the onion, I do find that it loses quite a lot of that harsh aftertaste that large pieces of onion can have, especially if they're not cooked through that well. So onion goes in there. Let's now also add some aromatics. I have a little bit of garlic that I'll be using. So 1 tablespoon of finely chopped garlic is going in there. 1 tablespoon of finely chopped ginger is going in there as well. Let's add a bit of spice to it. Why not add a bit of spice? Spice is always good. And I'll be adding into here 1 teaspoon of turmeric powder. As well as that, let's add some cumin powder as well. 2 teaspoons of ground cumin goes in here. And the last one might be a little bit surprising, but it's just one of the spices that is very, very popular in Vietnamese cooking, and that is cinnamon. So 1 teaspoon of cinnamon is going to go into our mix as well. So that is all looking fabulous. But I still want to add a bit more flavor. You know, I'm not satisfied. So I'm going to grab up my tea towel, my very damp tea towel here. And in my damp tea towel, I have my fresh herbs. Now, one of the other really beautiful things about Vietnamese cooking, and one of the reasons why it is hands down one of my favorite cuisines from around the world, is their abundant use of fresh herbs. So it's really almost impossible to do a Vietnamese dish and not have some type of herb in there. So we want fresh herbs, we want light herbs, we want bright herbs as in flavor. So today I'm going to be using mint. I'm also going to be using coriander, and I'm picking off the leaves here, getting rid of the stalks. But you could also use basil. You could use Thai basil, which is amazing, really pungent, gorgeous flavor. You could use Vietnamese mint. Now, just a word of caution with Vietnamese mint. Some people do find it to be quite overpowering. So unless you are used to Vietnamese mint, I would potentially suggest that you just pull back a little bit and you know, just give it a try first before you go the whole hog and add everything in. So I'm just going to be sticking with the 2 today. This is what I have in abundance in my kitchen currently, is lots of basil and lots of mint. And I have to say also that my mint bush outside of my garden is really starting to impress me now. So there's going to be lots of recipes with fresh mint coming up. So with the coriander, I'm just going to be slicing off the stalk. We're not going to be using that, but my goodness, we are going to be using those wonderful stalks there in our meatballs, because they really do, let me put that there first, they really do have so much flavor, and they hold up to the scrutiny of being cooked. So even if you're not a fan of coriander, there is different flavor in the coriander stalks than there is in the leaves. So don't be too scared to give them a try. In fact, coriander, yes, you can use the stalks, you can use the leaves, you can use the seeds. It gets ground down and made into a powder. So there's so many ways that you can use coriander, but of course, fresh is just so fragrant. So chopping through your handful of fresh herbs, you want around about 4 tablespoons of finely chopped herbs in total. That's what you're sort of after, which is around about that much. So I'm not measuring when it comes to fresh herbs, but if you're wondering whether this dish can be done without it, not really, because they will appear later as well when we are plating up this dish. So just with your knife, run through, give it a bit of a chop, make sure there's no big herbs there, and then of course they go back into our bowl. Wonderful. Looking good, looking very, very good. So once you're at that stage, there's probably just one last thing that we want to add into our meatball mixture, and that is just seasoning, so salt and pepper, because of course salt is there to help our palate to detect the other flavors in the dish, and just make things that much more exciting. Where's my salt? Here it is, hiding. So you want to give it a generous pinch of salt. I'm using mineral salt there. And let's also, why not, grind in some black pepper too. So good grinding of black pepper and very generous of our salt. All right. I'm going to glove up now, because definitely the best way, and I suggest this anytime you make something like meatballs, anytime you really want to get involved in the blending of the meat and the ingredients, is by using gloves or just by working with your hands, because the hands can really feel what's going on. So glove up. Ready? And just get in there. And also because there's turmeric in there, that's the other reason I'm gloving up. Because I'm like, yeah, turmeric, don't want to stain my hands yellow. So even more reason, right, that we glove up. The smell's coming off here already. Fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. I mean, this meatball recipe you could use for so many things, but of course, for Bun Cha Hanoi, it is a very, very nice way to make meatballs. So once you've got a good blend going on there, keep your gloves on. We're going to do the next stage, which is the rolling. And as we're getting about 4 portions out of this amount of mince, you want to create meatballs that are around about 30 grams or an ounce, about that much. But you don't necessarily have to weigh them if you don't want to. I'll leave that up to you. So make your meatballs, put them onto a flat plate or a bowl, and once you've got all your meatballs rolled, and this is always a nice job to give to someone else. I've rolled so many things in my life. I must admit I'm not a huge fan, so I do like to give this job to somebody else. But once you've got all your meatballs rolled, you then want to take a bit of sticky sauce, which is our wonderful Bridget sticky sauce. Of course, this recipe is on Mod Kai. You can get the sticky sauce recipe. And then take about 4 tablespoons of sticky sauce when you've got all the meatballs rolled, as you want to just drizzle the sticky sauce over top of the meatballs. And this is why I put it on a plate, because then all I do is just give them a little bit of a roll in the sticky sauce to make sure that they're really well covered on all sides there of your meatballs. So once you're at this point, the best idea is to put them in the fridge and allow them to harden, for an hour or something along those lines. It just makes them a little bit easier once you get to the cooking stage. But you could also pre-roll these, put them in sticky sauce, and then freeze them for up to 3 months. So you've got, portions of these amazing meatballs anytime you want them. I think that's a really fabulous idea. So while those are in the fridge, It's a good idea to think about the Bun Cha dipping sauce that we're going to be serving alongside our meatballs. And by the way, this sauce is literally the cornerstone of this dish, and it is so delicious. I wanted to give you a recipe where you had lots of it, because once you have it, you're not going to want to not have it in your fridge. It is wonderful with so many different types of meats, and of course, when it comes to meatballs, amazing. So the sauce is really, really easy to make. Let me just have a little bit of a wipe down, so a little bit of meat there. Really easy to make. Back to our little tray of goodness. One of the things that we're going to be adding is the chili. You're probably wondering when that was coming. I'm using red chilies today. And when it comes to the chilies, and the sauce, this sauce really needs chilies, and you don't have to add a lot of chilies. Look, if spicy food is not your thing, then you can tone it down. But the sauce definitely does need to have a little bit of heat, because chilies are not just there to make something seriously hot. Chilies are there to balance. So I'm going to be taking up my red chilies and just roughly chopping through, seeds and all. If you really don't like chilies, you actually want to remove the seeds, but I don't mind them too much, to be honest. I have realized that as I have grown up and as I have matured, my palate can definitely handle a lot more chilies than what it used to. I didn't grow up eating chilies, that's probably why. Chili was not in our food. If we wanted things to be spicy in our house, we added more pepper. And even then, it wasn't a lot. So, chilies is relatively new to my palate. And I do find that, the more I eat, the more I can tolerate. And I eat kimchi every single day. So kimchi is the Korean fermented cabbage. So fermented cabbage, really good for us, high in prebiotics and probiotics. And I eat a side of kimchi every single day. And there is a decent amount of chili in kimchi, but it's teaching me to really like that wonderful balance, especially that this dipping sauce is going to give us. So once you've got your chilies all finely chopped, I'm putting them straight into my pot here, because we are going to be just bringing this sauce to a bit of a boil. So straight into my pot, as well as the chilies. I am going, once I said balance, right guys, balance, as well as the chilies, I am going to be adding in some zero as sugar. So our pure erythritol needs to go in there as well. And with the erythritol, balance. So we've got the spicy, and now we are adding in the sweet. And of course, because it's our zero sugar, that means that there is no calories, there is no laxative effect, and there is zero glycemic spike, which means that it won't spike your blood glucose or raise your insulin levels. So we're putting into here, remember I'm giving you a recipe for a lot of sauce. So actually I'm going to pour it. We're putting into here 300 grams, which is 10.5 ounces of our zero sugar. And this sauce will last you a long time in the fridge, like a month, maybe even longer. So that goes in there. You can of course create half the amount of this that I'm giving you, but if you want to have some leftover, this is the thing to do. So 300 grams zero. We're also going to be putting in some apple cider vinegar. I'm using a raw, organic, unfiltered apple cider vinegar. And for this one, I want to add in 100 mils of ACV, goes in there. Wonderful. I'm putting in some fish sauce as well. Just choose a good quality fish sauce, the best quality that you can buy. And you want to add quite a lot of fish sauce. And I'm adding in 100 mils of fish sauce. Now remember this. This is one of those ingredients that is cornerstone to Vietnamese cooking. So fish sauce is in there. They don't use a lot of salt, but they use fish sauce to give things balance, but also give things that salty seasoning as well. So 100 mils of that goes in. But let's continue to balance. We'll put that there. And the way that I'm going to be doing that this time around is I'm using lime juice. So I'm adding just a bit more acid, but as you guys also know, limes are quite sweet too. So in themselves, for me, limes have a really lovely balance already. So limes, give them a bit of a squish on the bench. I know I'm going to be using quite a few limes because I need 100 mils. So 3.5 ounces of our lime juice. And this can all be squeezed directly, I'm still measuring, directly into our pot. Now depending on the juiciness of your limes will determine how much you need, but you're aiming for 100 mils. That was a juicy one, that was good. You're aiming for 100 mils. Oh yeah, perfect, we're getting there. I might even add, oh the smell. I just love the smell of fresh limes, they're wonderful. I will add that last lime there just to take us over the edge of that 100 mil mark as well. But it's looking pretty fabulous. Really, really happy with everything that's going on here. All right, we're nearly there with our ingredients. Perfect. But let's also add in some garlic as well. So you want to add in 2 tablespoons, which will just take me right to the end of my garlic jar. I'm going to have to create some more finely chopped garlic. So 2 tablespoons of finely chopped garlic goes in there as well. Let's now put this cooktop on. If I've plugged it in. No, I haven't. Let me plug it in first. There we go. Beep. It's in and it's on. All right, so for this, we want to bring this to the simmer. So give it a bit of a stir. You don't want to boil it too rapidly. What we're looking to do is obviously to dissolve the zero as sugar in there. We want to dissolve that. So don't go away from this, keep an eye on it, but I'm going to leave that there. And let's get on to the ingredients that are going to be going into this here. So believe it or not, Bun Cha Hanoi dipping sauce also has just a couple more ingredients that really do send it over the top in terms of flavor and taste and texture. And this is really, I think, what I love about this dipping sauce. So what we're going to be doing is actually adding in a few, as I was saying, a few vegetables. It's up to you which vegetables you decide that you want to add in. I have here some heirloom carrots, so some wonderful organic heirloom carrots. I'll be adding a few of those. I always suggest that you go with, if you are going to eat carrots, I don't eat a lot of them because they're quite high in starch, but when I do, I choose heirloom carrots because they are grown so much more naturally, and a lot of the carrots, believe it or not, that are grown, especially the orange ones that are grown today, they are grown purposely to be sweeter than what carrots actually should be. So they've got higher levels of sugar in them. So I'm choosing heirloom carrots, organic, because they are grown a lot more naturally. Now the other vegetable that I have here, this is actually Kohlrabi, and it's a wonderful high vitamin C vegetable. It tastes so good. You can eat it raw, you can turn it into mash, you can roast it. If you're wondering what Kohlrabi looks like, I've actually got one here to show you guys. Isn't that spectacular? Look at him. Isn't it gorgeous? You can even eat the leaves too. You can cheat the leaves like spinach or kale. So this is what a Kohlrabi looks like. It is, like I said, it is such a versatile vegetable. Like, I like it in salads, but I also like it cooked as well, roasted as well. And I'm going to be making it almost like into a lightly pickled vegetable to go inside our Bun Cha dipping sauce. So that's what you're looking for in the supermarket, is a Kohlrabi. You just need to peel it, obviously remove the tops there. Another vegetable you could even consider putting in there, this is called a jicama, also known as a yam bean. Now this, once again, can be eaten raw. In fact, I prefer it raw. This is an amazing salad vegetable. It's kind of a cross between an apple and a cucumber, and it's wonderfully crunchy. So you can also put jicama in there. Keep an eye out for this one in your fruit and veggie shop because it is really good. But today we're going to be adding in carrots into here, into our Bun Cha dipping sauce, and we're going to be adding in Kohlrabi. So once you've got the peel going, you want to create what is known as a julienne, and you're looking for about 60 grams of Kohlrabi or jicama, or you could use celeriac, or you could even use, traditionally, this is made with green papaya, which I could not find in my supermarket, unfortunately. So this is a really nice alternative. And you'd want about 60 grams, which is 2 ounces of your chosen first vegetable, and just cut them into julienne, which is thin sticks, matchsticks almost, of your vegetable. So give them, and be really, be careful here. It's a good time to do it while your sauce is starting to come to the boil. So 60 grams or thereabouts of our kohlrabi. And then using up the carrots, and I love the fact that I'm not even going anywhere near an orange carrot. Look at the colour. Are you guys seeing that colour? I just love it. Love it. Yeah, I like the fact I'm not going anywhere near orange carrots, and we're just playing around with the whole idea on how good it is to just eat, different vegetables and focus on diversity. And just like the kohlrabi, you want to thinly slice into that julienne, or thin little matchsticks, or straw potatoes, if you've seen potatoes looking like this. And you want 60 grams or thereabouts of your carrots or your second chosen vegetable. I definitely think you should have at least 2 different types of vegetables going on here. It just helps with colour and vibrancy and diversity, which is really important. So just go for it. But in total, you're after, sort of 100 to 120 grams of, we've got a boil happening, vegetables in total. Your choice of vegetables. Your choice of colour too, but this really, really works very nicely. So we've got our little boil happening, as you can see. Things are boiling. Give it a little bit of a stir. You want to make sure that the sugar is beginning to dissolve in there, which is great. And my sugar is dissolved really nicely. I am going to allow it to continue just to bubble away just for a little bit, because what that then means is that the flavours are beginning to concentrate as the water is steaming off it. So we're getting it a little bit thicker, not super thick, just a little bit thicker, and we're also helping to really improve the colour, the flavour that's going on in there. Now, it's a good idea, without burning your lips, if you can, to have a bit of a taste, because then you know whether you need to adjust the flavours. Because remember, we're looking for balance, not too spicy, not too sweet, not too acidic, just right. So, oh, hey, it is tasting good. I'm happy. I'm just going, whoa, that would work so well for meatballs. And speaking of meatballs, I am going to take this off. I am going to put those in there. And literally just leave it off to the side now. Let's have a look at some pre-rolled meatballs. And let's start heating up our little frying pan or wok. I am using a wok, but you could totally use a frying pan here. And you want to heat your frying pan, start it on medium heat, and get it nice and hot. Here's our meatballs that I pre-rolled. I'm going to put in just a little bit of sticky sauce down the bottom, maybe a couple tablespoons, just to get things going a little bit. And then all you need to do, and see, once you have them in the fridge, they're just a little bit firmer, they're just a little bit easier to handle. So that's why I suggest that you pop them into the fridge for an hour, or even overnight. If you make these overnight, that works really well. And then just start to begin to lay them into the base of your frying pan. A little bit of separation. Don't have them too tight, so depending on the size of your pan or your wok, you may need to cook in batches, because when you're making meatballs or anything along the lines of this type of food, you don't want to overcrowd your pan, because you want them to be in that single layer, because when they're in the single layer, see what I'm doing? I'm able to give them a little bit of a roll. But when they're in that single layer, they're going to cook so much more evenly, which is 100% what we are after. So let's keep our eyes on this. Keep your eye on the prize. I'm using my wok primarily because it's non-stick, and it means I don't have to add any oil. There's enough natural healthy fats in the pork mince and in the chicken. So what I can now think of doing, this is all, I haven't changed the temperature, it's all on medium, is putting a lid on just to help them to cook through. So our meatballs will take, you know, anywhere from sort of 4 to 8 minutes to cook through. All depends obviously on how big you roll them and also what you use to cook them with. So about 4 to 8 minutes. You obviously want to cook them through really well. You don't want any raw meat. Sometimes it helps to get a spoon and just kind of give them a little bit of a roll in the pan. But keep your eye on them, adjust your temperature accordingly, you know, and if you want to just speed things up, add the lid on as well. It definitely helps. Okay, happy with the smell, happy with the look. They look really amazing. Just going to turn that temperature down now while I show you guys the accompaniments that Bun Cha traditionally has, and there is some amazing things that you can add or not add. So let me grab up the noodles firstly. So Bun Cha definitely has some type of noodle involved in it. Now traditionally rice noodles are used. I am using konjac noodles, so made from the konjac plant, and they are extremely low in carbs. They are low in calories. Like this entire bowl of konjac noodles is probably only about 10 calories, and there's a couple of serves in there. Now in total you want about 400 grams of noodles, which is 14 ounces, so about 3.5 ounces per person. So that's the first thing, is I've got some noodles there, just not rice noodles, so they're nice and good for us. Another classic that goes along with Bun Cha is some lettuce, and I am using baby cos lettuce that I just washed through and broke off just to go into our dish as well. Get some more goodies. Now in this bowl, and this plate I should say, I have lots of really interesting things that I want to show you. Firstly, I have some sliced cucumber because we want that lovely crunch in there, so a bit of texture. I have bean sprouts, so fresh bean sprouts, which once again really wonderful for texture. I have just some finely chopped spring onion is in there. I have some chopped nuts as well, which are really good, and you could use almonds and you could use walnuts, you could obviously use cashews, all those types of nuts, just lightly toasted. And then under here, if you can see, I also have some more sliced vegetables. So I have some julienne, or just small matchsticks of our kohlrabi and jicama, and I also have a little bit of carrot, once again heirloom carrot. So those are kind of like the vegetables. And as I was saying before, one of the most important things that you can do when it comes to Vietnamese cuisine, let me put that there, is make sure you've got lots and lots of fresh herbs. So if you go to a Vietnamese restaurant, they will, chances are, what they will do for you is they will put just big sprigs of fresh herbs, like in a bowl or in a plate on your table, just like this, so that then you get to add all these wonderful fresh herbs to your meal. So by all means, do this. Like, put on as many fresh herbs as you think your wonderful lucky belly can eat. And so I've got mint, I've got coriander, of course, but once again, Thai basil, Vietnamese mint, even normal, common basil, works really well. I'll leave that up to you guys which ones, but just always go for really bright, light and gorgeous herbs. So the herbs are there. Obviously the meatballs are done. I'll turn it off. And the last thing before we add the meatballs is, of course, you guys remember, right? The dipping sauce. So the dipping sauce has just had a chance to just cool ever so slightly. The vegetables are just starting to kind of pickle through. Let me grab some plates here. The dipping sauce is so incredibly important and vital to this dish. So into a big bowl, add some of those vegetables, add some of that sauce, of course, that wonderful balance that is going to go so well with the meatballs. So I'm going to add that. I'm going to put that onto my chopping board as well. Look at this. Doesn't this just look so good? Let me just take those noodles out of there so it looks even prettier. Big bowl of noodles, thank you. Well drained and washed. You don't even have to cook konjac noodles. I literally took them out of the packet. I drained them under running cold water and I allowed them then to drain in that little sieve. That's all you have to do to this. No heating required because this dish is traditionally served with cold noodles. And then of course just the meatballs. Ah, the steam coming off it. Oh, I do love that so much. Makes me happy in so many ways. And I'm just going to put the meatballs onto a plate. Just like this. And then, if you really want to go crazy, take more of that dipping sauce and those vegetables and just ladle them over top of your meatballs there to make them even more spectacular, which we absolutely have. So this is the traditional way that, you know, if you were in the city of Hanoi and you're at a street vendor's stall, this potentially, or even in a little restaurant, there are restaurants dedicated throughout the world to Bun Cha. You know, and every person who creates it has their own special dipping sauce. Everyone creates it has their own special way of making the meatballs. And so you get this opportunity, you know, to eat all these amazing things and you decide what you want to eat first. But of course, we'll do one more thing before we go. Of course, if you wanted to, there is nothing stopping you from creating just one plate of Bun Cha, which I'm going to do right here, just to show you guys how it all can come together. So where's our tongs gone? Oops, let me grab those. So one portion, I like to start off with the noodles, so 100 grams or 3.5 ounces of noodles per person goes in there. Let us also add some of that fabulous, crunchy, gorgeous little baby cos lettuce. Oh, I like that one. I like they've got a little bit of green on them. They can go in there as well. I'm going to be adding in that big, beautiful handful of bean sprouts. I love bean sprouts. I can't even tell you how much I love bean sprouts. Just the texture, you know, they can be put into a curry, into a hot curry. They're wonderful through a salad, of course, as well. And they really just add so much goodness to a dish. So a nice big handful of our vegetables are going to go on there as well. Just like that. Let's add some of that gorgeous cucumber. And you're kind of just developing this gorgeous bowl just for you. How lucky are you? Just for you, you get to create. Let's put some of those green vegetables down, those green spring onions, and of course, let us not forget the meatballs. Oh, thank you, the sound's gone off. So let's add some of those gorgeous meatballs onto there. I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty happy with that. And I haven't even finished. I'm just like, yeah, that looks really, really, really good. But let's keep on going. Let's keep on going. And the way that we keep on going is some of those toasted nuts are going to go on there as well. Give them a bit of a sprinkle. We are also going to be adding some of this sauce, of the Bun Cha Dipping Sauce. But I'm also going to serve it alongside of this as well. But just for a little bit of moisture, just a bit. Top of our meatballs, I'm going to put that there. I'm also going to serve that there, don't you worry about that. And the very last thing that we're going to be doing today is finishing off this absolutely stunning bowl of goodness. Let's be honest, this looks almost too good to eat. And I said almost because I'm totally going to eat it. I gotta hurry up and and get into it, because I have a feeling just the smells that are currently going through my studio, I'm going to be having people knocking on the door pretty soon because they're going to want to eat this. So here we have it. This is how I would serve Bun Cha Hanoi. So a big beautiful plate of goodies right there with chopsticks so you can mix everything around. More of that wonderful, wonderful dipping sauce must go on there as well, because the dipping sauce is flavour and balance and making sure that it's giving moisture to the vegetables and the noodles and of course the lettuce as well. And what you end up having is really, let's be completely frank here, a delicious meal. They eat this for breakfast in Hanoi, or all throughout Vietnam, all throughout the world. They eat this for lunch, and they even eat this for dinner. So I'm going to leave it up to you. I would love to start my day like this. For me, breaking my fast with this would be heavenly. So thank you so much for joining me. I will be sharing this recipe with you guys in its entirety on our recipe sharing platform, which of course is modkai.com. It's free to join. Come over and see us. If you want to watch this video again, it's obviously been uploaded to YouTube as well, because I have a YouTube channel, Bridget's Healthy Kitchen. You can join me on Facebook, you can join me on Pinterest, and you can join me on Instagram as well. It has been a pleasure spending time with you and also sharing this very, very wonderful cuisine, which is the cuisine of Vietnam. And I look forward to seeing you again as we continue to travel around the world via our taste buds through Healthy Around the World. Everyone be well and be safe, and we'll see you next time back here in Bridget's Healthy Kitchen. Bye.